Hi, this is Critical Mediumship. Welcome. My name's Medium Joe. I always promise myself I'm going to do more of these podcasts, but I just never get a chance. So we're going to do an ad hoc one today. Hope you're all right. Hope you're all enjoying this amazing weather. If you're listening in the latter part of the year or a later date, it is so hot today. And I'm sure we'll be missing it well into the autumn and winter. So just want to update on a couple of things recently that have been going on, but also just talk about signs and symbols from the spirit world. But first, before we get into that, I want to know what your experiences are of going to places that are haunted. So you'd think as a psychic, as a medium, that everywhere I go, I'm picking up on spirit here, there and everywhere. And for me personally, it's just not the case. I was chatting to someone today about it and I was saying, well, what's the point if I'm not doing a reading or an event? I don't really need to speak to them, do I? But sometimes I'll be going about my day and I'll pick up on spirits around me. So yesterday, and this is why I want to talk about this now. Yesterday, I was at my local hospital, or one of them, Scunthorpe, and I knew before I got there that I was going to go in there and start to feel the presence of spirit personalities about. Now, this is interesting because if I go to Hull or Grimsby Hospital, I don't always get that sense of spirit personalities around. But when I go to Scunthorpe, it is this overwhelming sense of just presence that I pick up on. Now, if you're local to the area or you've ever been to Scunthorpe Hospital, they kind of have that bridge crossing over in between the two hospital sites. And that part of that building, for whatever reason, it is just really atmospheric. So it got me thinking, and I want to know in the comments if you've ever gone somewhere and you've felt spirit around you, or you've sensed them, or you've had a strange thing happen. Now, interestingly, I live in a really old town in Barton. You think I go there and there'd be spirits here, there and everywhere, and that's just not the case. So why is it in certain places am I sensing spirit really strongly and in others they're just not there? I don't really have the answer for that. I think some places we can maybe explain it away with something called infrasound, which is a low frequency sound which can give us that feeling of presence, of that ominous sense, and that increased awareness that we might be being watched. And that's something that's really logical and explainable away. But in this instance, I don't think it is. I think it is a real sense of spirit personalities there. Now, it's a hospital site, so is that why? Is it because so many souls make their transition there? Is it because of how the energy is kept in the building? I don't really know, but certainly when I visit, I always feel apprehensive, before I go in. And then when I go in, it's just, it's not a brilliant feeling. I can't really describe just this overwhelming sense of, I don't know if it's dread or fear. I don't really know what it is, but this real sense that spirit are really close by. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you've ever experienced. I'm really intrigued by that. So also as well, I was at the hospital yesterday, and this is what I want to talk about, signs and symbols from the spirit world. And are our loved ones around us all the time? Well, in short, the answer to that is yes. Do you know, after 20 years of doing this work, I'm blessed to see our world and their world. But for lots of people, they don't have that link yet, or they're not aware of spirits around them. So are they around us? Are they watching over us? Well, yeah, absolutely. When I do readings or do events and messages come through, very often they'll convey information about what's been going on in the family home, what's been going on in the family, if there's any drama, politics, almost this sense that they're still watching over us. And notice a really common theme when people come for readings. I'll mention something and they'll say, we spoke about that in the car on the way here, which I find absolutely fascinating. So there's almost the idea that our spirit loved ones are almost traveling with us to readings and sit-ins. That's a really common thing that I come across. So how do we know if our loved ones are around us? Well, there's lots of ways we'd know. There's synchronicity, there's signs, there's robins, there's butterflies, there's dreams, there's this sense that someone might be with us. Very often people smell fragrances. Another really common one that I'm noticing at the moment is links through electrical devices. So I did in a recent event a couple of weeks ago, and during the reading I was saying to this lady who brought a young daughter along, saying, I've got your mum here, she's commenting on how lovely your daughter's hair looks, but she's also laughing about a picture where your hair's almost this big bouffant style. And this lady was saying, no, I don't understand what you mean. I said, well, please go away and check and look for that. And after the break, she collared me and she said, I've just opened my phone and it's opened on my mum's favourite picture from the wedding where my hair's all really high up and almost this bouffant style. And she was saying to me that there was no way that she'd gone back into a gallery to look at that and how odd that picture had popped up, and that it was her mum's favourite picture. So more and more I'm seeing this interaction with spirits trying to communicate with us through electrical means as well. Just on from that, I also did a reading for a lady very recently, probably 3 months ago now, where her husband had sadly passed away. So this lady came, I think she came with her daughter, if I recall correctly, and her husband brought through a wealth of information about his passing, about what he'd been up to on the other side, and also had been watching over the family. But as part of that reading, it indicated that he'd tried to make contact with her. And at the end, she explained to me that one weekend when she'd gone to go visit her daughter, she had her husband's phone in her bag and she was sat scrolling through her phone and she received an email from his phone. Now, she knew that because sometimes it comes with Outlook at the bottom or sent from Android, whatever that might be. And when she opened an email, it was a picture of his face. Do you know this? His phone was in her bag, turned off, and yet then she receives that picture. Such a strange phenomenon. Now, you might say, oh, well, someone else had that email address. All we can go off is that lady's views that no one else had that email address. And why would someone do that? Why would someone cause that level of distress? The level of joy that brought that lady, it was just really, really lovely. So, again, I'm going to ask you, let me know in the comments and stuff, what experiences do you have when spirit family come and visit you? I think lots of people have this expectation that they're going to get lots of different things happening simultaneously, all at different times. But usually that's not the case. So we can evidence that. So, for example, when I work with my guides and they step forward, very often I'll see Emily stood in front of me, who's one of my guides. I'll see her necklace and I know that I'm able to communicate with spirit in that way. When my monk's with me, I'll just see the outline of his figure behind me, almost stood over watching me and protecting me. That's all I need to know that my guides are about. Similarly, with those in spirit, they'll use a consistent pattern of phenomena. So that might be that regular occurrence of that robin. That might be that synchronicity that you hear in songs of theirs on the radio. It might be a really strong smell and fragrance around you. I'm laughing with that, since that smells smoke around me. Just thinking future, rather than saying to people, oh, we'll be able to smell smoke around you. We'll be like, oh, be able to smell, watch for the smell of raspberry vapes around you. Yeah, but let me know in the comments what your kind of experiences are with that. Over time, you can ask them to do things, but it's about being patient. It's about processing aspects of our grief and being open to this idea that they can communicate with us. Again, I think lots of people think that they can go over there on the other side and just instantly communicate with us, but they also have to learn how to link back with us. It's a really, really complex process. However, it can be achieved. As having this conversation today with a gentleman that's using his SLR cameras to detect stick persons around who shouldn't be there. So my very limited knowledge on this is an SLS camera that when someone stands in front of it, it picks up the stick outline of them. This camera detects and looks for human bodies and then will put that stick figure across it. What this individual has noticed is that he can get spirit to interact with this camera and have direct conversations with them. As we was talking about this, I was explaining this process to him that as much as he's learning how to do this, and it's a journey for him, the main gentleman that's linking with him is also learning from the other side how to do this work as well. So it's really interesting and really, really fascinating. So the reason I wanted to talk about signs and symbols from the spirit world is because, again, when I was at the hospital, I remember being sat there with my young son waiting for his appointment to start, and I got this overwhelming sense of this almost this image in my mind. I could feel myself fall out of a window and injure my neck and pass the spirit. Now, I knew it was a younger male, and I thought, here's my event this evening. Now, what's really interesting about this and what caught my attention with it is usually when I pick up on someone that maybe has fallen out of a window, it's an older adult, so like perhaps a young teenager or someone that's been partying. Sometimes it's a reference to someone that's been pushed out the window as well. So this idea that there might be something suspicious about it. But with this, it felt different. It felt like an accident. It didn't feel like anyone else was involved. I could feel this sense about me falling out the window. Throughout the day, I just had this sense that was with me. I can't really describe it in any other way. Just this idea that every time I thought about it, I could see that image coming into my mind. To the extent that I rang the lady. So I did a charity event last night at the White Centre Feather in Eskegness, which was amazing. Amazing causes. They've raised so much money for so many different charities, and it's just an honour to be part of that. But I rang the lady running the event prior and said to her, I just want to let you know that I've been experiencing this throughout the day. I suspect it's going to come through. Just so I could almost share that information with someone else, so I could verify that he'd been with me throughout the day. And as we went into the evening, this young gentleman was wanting to connect with his sister, and he's wanting to link back up with her and let him know that he's with his dad, let me know that he's with those wider loved ones, and he was still watching over the family, and that he was sorry about how he passed as well. Now, interestingly, it was absolutely an accident that he'd fallen out the window, and it kind of played out how I'd seen it in my mind as well. So if I can pick up on those spirits throughout the day as a medium, translating that to you as perhaps a layperson or someone who's getting into this world, the spirits are around us on a regular basis. Sometimes we just don't feel them, and it's about being open over time to learning how they link with us and learning how they connect with us. So let me know if there's any psychics or mediums that are listening to this podcast. If you are, welcome, and give me some feedback, please. Let me know what your experiences are with spirits that are making contact with you. Like I say, certainly for me, they're not with me every day. Sometimes I see them, sometimes I don't. I notice they're always prominent when I've got events on or I've got readings. So a good example, early in the mornings, if I'm out pottering with my dogs and I can feel them about, I'll be able to feel that someone's following me almost around me in the background. That's usually a reference that spirits are going to come through later in the day. Right, moving on. Today, loud in the background. I apologise, but the windows are open, doors are open. It is super sunny and super bright today. I want to talk about another reading I recently did, and just explain some of the mechanics behind this work, and also explain why sometimes spirits don't come through. So I did an event at a huge venue, well over 100 people there. It was in a pub. I went in, and I remember getting all my gear sorted out, and I got these new speakers, and I was panicking a little bit about if this is going to work. I was really frustrated about how the room had been laid out as well. And out the corner of my eye, I saw a family just sat to the side, and I thought, bless them, they can't get any seats. Anyway, got them some seats right at the back of the room and got about on my evening. I did go to them during that evening, and one of them, I was able to bring his brother through, sadly passed tragically, which was great. I was able to convey that message to them. The next day, the young lady part of that group, she messaged me thanking me for the event, but she also asked why her young daughter hadn't come through. As a result of that, I made a decision to invite her and some others to come along to my house for a private reading, and I was able to recently do that reading. So, two things with that. Why wouldn't that young lady come through at an event like that? Well, there's a number of different factors there, some environmental, some spiritual. Now, the room, the setup, the layout of it absolutely plays a part in it. If I can't see that person properly, I'm not always going to be able to feel those energies around them. Also, as well, in such a loud, big room, it's quite difficult to pick up on all these different spirits that might be around at once. There's so much energy going on in that room. From a spiritual perspective, sometimes it's the loudest spirit that shouts, that person that shouts loudest, spirit that shouts loudest, that I'm going to pick up on. As I'm scouting the room, I'll be picking up on different spirits stepping forward around people, and I'll go to person to person to person. You imagine that young, gentle energy in such a large room where I really can't see them properly. It's going to be hard to pick up on her. And I suspect that's probably why she didn't come through. And also as well, that energy. Can you imagine like as a young child trying to come into that room that's full of spirit people? It can be quite overwhelming. So as part of that process, we invited this young lady to come for a reading at my house free of charge to see if we could link with her daughter. As part of that process, I made the decision to suggest to her that she could bring other family members along as well. Now, why do that? Well, there's a few reasons, really. A, when someone comes for a reading, they're not always going to be able to recall relevant information. So having others there that can verify it and check it is really, really beneficial. But a really good example with readings when they sometimes don't work, sometimes your energy doesn't blend with that sitter. And it's not a reflection on you or them. It's a really complex business. Not only have you got that spirit energy there, you've also got the sitter's energy and your energy. A really good example is you might meet someone in life and there's nothing wrong with them, but you just don't have that rapport with them. So to avoid that happening with this young lady, again, nothing wrong with her. It's more about that blend of energy, having different energies there as well that I can link with and get information through can be really, really beneficial. Fortunately, as part of that reading, when she came with her parents, was able to get a young daughter through and was able to get some really specific and detailed information, which was absolutely fabulous. So away from that loud, that boisterous environment where there's lots of different energies, in an environment which is a little bit more controlled, a little bit more settled, and a little bit more tailored towards those perhaps gentler energies, we was able to build that link with that young lady. I think it's a really, really good example of how complex this work can be, because absolutely for that young family wanting to make contact with their daughter, granddaughter, they're going to go to different places to try and build that connection. And rightly so, and understandably so, they're not always going to understand the mechanics behind this work and how complex it can be. Being able to make that link with that young girl and bring comfort to that family, honestly, it is such a blessing. And I'm really, really grateful to Spirit that we were able to do that on that day and just reconnect them for one more time, even if just for a short period of time. Also within that, linking that back to signs and symbols, we was able to really demonstrate that this young girl had been communicating with the family through multiple different means. Off the top of my head, I can't really recall what they were, but there was lots of different ways that she was trying to make that connection with them. Interestingly, just I think out loud about that reading, one of the things that the family had said was that one of the other children had got this real sense around that this younger child in the family was communicating directly with her. Now, very often, children will report talking to spirits or seeing things that we can't see. And a really good example, again, is that may be the primary way this young girl tries to communicate with the family, through that direct link with her sibling. And again, it may be other ways as well, but usually it's that one consistent method that they'll try to do to communicate with us. So I hope that gives you a little insight into this work and into this world as well. What's coming up for me? So away from all of that, I've got some book stuff coming up. It's still early doors with it, so fingers crossed we'll be able to get some publishing stuff done. Doing some really good psychical research work as well into this world, trying to get to a point where I can have my mediumship tested in a informed and ethical way. If I can do that, I'm not really fussed whether it comes. I am fussed. That's wrong. That's a wrong way to say it. I will. If it comes back and the results aren't what I want, I'll accept that, because it's about contributing to the literature around consciousness, around mediumship, and around survival after death as well. I've also got some TV stuff coming, low-level TV stuff as well, but I've got some events coming up where we've got cameras there, and I'm really, really excited about that. I can't stress that enough. So we're going to leave it short and sweet this week. I just want to touch bases. We're probably doing a bit more like this, a bit informal moving forward. Enjoy the sunshine. Good luck to England in the World Cup. Fingers crossed. Yeah. And I've got readings and stuff available if you want them. Check out my page. It's Medium Gem. God bless. Much love. I'll see you next time.